Yes, major history again, and I would like to speak briefly on some news coming out of South Africa, specifically Cape Town, South Africa. The other day, it was recorded, or was the news flash coming from Cape Town, South Africa, is that the world's, quote, first openly gay imam, Mr. Mushin Hendricks, had been gunned down, assassinated in Cape Town, South Africa. Mr. Hendricks came out as gay several years ago and had opened up a mosque for individuals of the LGBTQ queer community in Cape Town, obviously a controversial figure. And the operative word is first openly gay imam. Now, how many imams, ministers, or rabbis who may be gay and are not forthcoming and coming out to the public to say so? And I'm quite sure there's many like that. These individuals who are closeted and have on clerical garments and espousing religious edicts, who are uniformly against the gay lifestyle, but are living double lives. Now, Mr. Hendricks must have known that to take a stand that as this individual did, he would be inviting controversy, maybe even violent opposition. But one has to respect this individual that come out uh, the closet as opposed to living a double lives and kind of like deceiving his flock or deceiving his congregants. However we may feel about his lifestyle and his religious uh, stand, or his lifestyle stand, I should say, uh, this individual did not deserve to lose his life to a violent crime. And it should be noted, it should be said that South Africa is one of the highest murder rates in the world. And Mr. Hendricks is apparently a victim of these um, high murder rates because of his high profile, controversial stand. Has garnered more attention than many other victims of crime in South Africa at the present time. But while I feel that the term gay, gay imam is somewhat contradictory, I think I think it's an oxymoron, that the terms are mutually exclusive to, from what I understand, the tenets of Islam and most other mainstream religions. But it should be said and reiterated that he was not hiding. He was honest about himself and his lifestyle. and that has to be taken into account. So that's my take on it, and thanks for your time. Yes, morning viewers, this is Major History. Welcome you again to another podcast. After a brief hiatus of several days, uh, I just received word yesterday of the passing of Mr. Sam Nujoma, or Nujoma, I should say, the first president of independent Namibia, which is a country located in the southwest part of Africa, neighboring South Africa in the south, Angola in the north, and I believe Botswana and Zambia to the east. If you're trying to locate it on a map, Mr. Sam Nujoma passed away at the age of 95, and I believe his passing deserves recognition because, to my understanding, Mr. Nujoma was the last of the leaders that led their country to independence in the liberation struggles of the 1960s. Sam Njuma's name is not as well known as, say, for instance, Nelson Mandela, who became a household name during the struggles of that time. But Sam Nujoma and his organization, known as the Southwest African People's Organization, fought for their liberty and their independence in the same time period against the same oppressive apartheid regime of South Africa, white ruled South Africa, armed with the fierce, independent minded philosophy and ideology. Sam Nujoma began his movement with only a handful of followers and even fewer weapons, donated by sympathetic African countries like Algeria, Egypt, Tanzania, and Zambia. Beginning their armed struggle around the year 1966, they fought for almost 3 decades until Namibia gained its independence, and with the support of various African countries and also Cuba under Fidel Castro. So Mr. Sam Nujoma, known for his wide smile and very distinctive and distinguished beard, was an icon for the people of South Africa, founding father, and a father figure. He was a dear George Washington, and I'm quite sure his passing will be greatly missed to his people and all freedom-loving peoples around the world. Rest in peace. A luta continua. Struggle continues. Thank you. Yes, this is Major History again. And according to the latest news reports, Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, who was slated to be co-chair of the newly created Department of Governmental Efficiency, has decided to resign from that position, ostensibly to position himself to run for governor of Ohio. And this is a startling development, as Mr. Ramaswamy has been an ardent supporter of the Donald J. Trump second administration. However, he stepped on a few toes when he made disparaging remarks about American culture and its deficiencies and liabilities. And he was called to account for these statements by other members of the MAGA movement. It reminds me of the old saying that used to be applied to African Americans. You're the last hired, you're the first fired. Even though he claimed that he resigned from this position voluntarily, there's reason to believe he was asked to step aside because of his controversial comments. It brings to mind what I mentioned before about how many of these ultra-right-wing Americans of Indian descent have gravitated toward American conservative politics. Vivek Ramaswamy, among the most recent ones, and they seem to be disproportionately represented in the new Donald Trump administration. The newly appointed director of the FBI, for instance, Mr. Patel, is an Indian American. But in times past, Bobby Jindal, governor of Louisiana was an Indian American. So there's some interesting parallels between the ultra-right MAGA movement, conservative movement, and the ascension of many of these Indian Americans in this country and Indian persons of Indian descent overseas as well. Former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Mr. Rishi Sunak, was of Indian ancestry. And many of these Indian persons of Indian descent are very prosperous. Many of them even millionaires. However, that does not give them safeguard from the right-wing white supremacists and white nationalists of the MAGA movement. And that's why I said Mr. Ramaswamy had fell in a category that was reserved for other persons of color of last hired and first fired. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and according to news reports, President-elect Donald J. Trump has enacted a sweeping pardon uh, for many of the individuals who were involved in the January 6th rioting. I think about 1,500 in all. And this includes individuals that committed violent acts against personnel and property on the Capitol Hill steps and in the building itself. And to my mind, this sets a very bad precedent for the rule of law in this country because the Capitol had never undergone any type of mass assault of this kind since the War of 1812 when the British invaded Washington and D.C. and burned several federal buildings. So while former President Biden has made some questionable pardons himself, this is a very disturbing development because these people were violent interlopers, invaders of federal property, threatening uh, employees and personnel of the federal government, carrying out violent and disruptive acts. So, but at the same time, one very enlightening, very encouraging development. One of the several of the individuals had received uh, a presidential pardon from President-elect Donald Trump, actually turned down this pardon. One lady I heard this morning said she had taken responsibility for her actions. She pled guilty and wants to serve out the sentence that was given to her. And in her words, um, she was in the wrong. She committed crimes, and on that day, and was guilty of it. And the other ones, Trump had pardoned, were just as guilty as she was. So this, to me, is a shining example of integrity and honesty, and gives a encouraging light in a dark chapter in American history. But presidential pardon being what it is, it cannot be avoided. And as I said before, it is a disturbing and a really unprecedented development, and which is not encouraging for the development of the American political process in the coming days. But being as it is, we will have to see how things develop further in this regard. Thank you. Yes, major history again, and I just received latest news reports coming out of the Middle East that the proposed agreement, ceasefire between Israel and Hamas at Gaza Strip has foundered and has not been agreed upon, despite optimistic reports to the contrary. And to my mind, even if it is eventually a ceasefire is agreed upon, would only bring a temporary respite to the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas and related organizations. This conflict between the Israelis and the Arabs has gone on for many decades. By some estimates, about 100 years. The deceased chairman of the PLO, Yasser Arafat, remarked many years ago that this is a conflict between international Zionism and Arab nationalism. And that puts it in quite succinct terms, which undoubtedly still stands today. So even if a ceasefire is agreed upon in the next hours or days, I don't think it will be long lasting, but only be a temporary peace until another phase of the struggle ensues. And from all I can see, what I able to gather, I do not believe that I see no signs that this conflict won't continue for another 100 years. But one proviso, if, when, and until the prophecy is fulfilled in the Holy Scriptures, in the Bible, Isaiah 2:4 states, He, meaning the Lord, shall judge among the nations, meaning all the nations. He shall rebuke many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. So if, when, and until that prophecy is fulfilled, and I believe it will, I see no indication that this current conflict between these Arabs and Israeli and Gaza and elsewhere will not continue for the foreseeable future. So only thing we can do is hope and pray that that prophecy which Prophet Isaiah has outlined will be fulfilled sooner rather than later. And that's my take on the current situation between Israel and Hamas and Gaza. Thank you. Yes, this is major history, and I just saw a news story that some individual had broke into uh, the premises of St. John the Evangelist Roman Catholic Church at 13th and Market Street. And this individual uh, broke through the stained glass window after he had climbed over a fence and stole a crown off the statue of the Virgin Mary, which had been on the premises for many decades. St. John the Evangelist Church was built, constructed, and consecrated around 1838, and has stood there ever since. I understand repair work and renovation had to be done after a major fire around 1899. However, during the aftermath of the fire, the statue of the Virgin Mary was not damaged, and the parishioners decided to get their funds together and place a crown made of gold and precious jewels upon the statue of the Virgin Mary. I understand that crown, golden crowns, were many tens of thousands of dollars. Now, I don't know if this is an act of just a random opportunistic burglary, act of sabotage, or sacrilege, or a combination thereof. But I do believe this individual will not escape the lawful pursuit of the authorities until he's duly apprehended to invade a house of worship and commit act of desecration upon in a sanctuary is a very egregious and very, I think, a despicable act by this individual. And I just hope that whoever partakes in it or is involved, if it's a conspiracy, it will be found out. The Word of God says that in Book of Revelation 2:10, it says, "Be faithful even unto the point of death, and I will give thee the crown of life." And that crown of life is divinely given. Man can't give it, and man can't take it away. And I'm quite sure this individual, because of his deeds, he in no way will receive the crown of life for his egregious actions. At least I hope not. But we'll just see in the coming days, in the coming hours, how this plays out. Thank you.